Making a napkin holder to use at home, I started off with a 12-inch by 12-inch piece of leather, English bridal leather, 8 to 10 ounce, and here I am going to go ahead and mark it up using a 2.5-inch piece of wood and a stylus to mark the lines where I'm going to make the base of the walls on the holder. The stylus I should have been applying a wee bit more pressure, but down the road we'll see the reason why. So this napkin holder holds 6-inch napkins, and it takes some hand sewing, and it only takes an hour and a half to make, starting off with a 12 by 12-inch piece of leather. Now here I'm punching holes in where the intersection of the lines came together, and I'm just punching a hole, and that makes it easier for me to cut the corners out because it gives me a starting point. And of course you'll see me start to do the cut. Oh, there's the cut right there. So cutting the corners out, I should have sharpened the knife. I didn't, because usually I can get through with just one pass on this 8 to 10 ounce leather. And I love the angle of this knife because it lets me see where I have to do the cut if I've made the lines strong enough to follow. Here I'm just increasing a little bit more. And part of that is the lighting. It's good to have good lighting directly on your work and not above your work. It creates shadows. So once I've got these cut out, then the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to crease the top edges of the inside of the napkin holder. I have the smooth leather on the inside of the napkin holder, so the outside is going to be the flesh side. And here I'm going ahead and creasing all 4 sides of the leather. Then I'll flip it over and I'll use the creasing iron again. Here we are, and I'm going to use it this time to mark the lines where I'm going to take the stitching chisel, which is going to basically make the holes for the stitching, and this will give me a nice straight line to do that on. So I've gone ahead and sped this up a wee bit so it doesn't take as long watching. There we go. Alright, so the next thing I would do, I imagine, is getting the stitching chisel. Here it is, on a piece of granite, and then a rubber mat under that, and a piece of leather on top of that. And I'm hammering down those lines, which I should have brought over to this side so you could see what I'm actually doing. So maybe the next video I'll be thinking a little bit more on how to do things where the presentation gives you a better view of what I'm actually doing. But you get the idea. And I'm going all the way through with this chisel that makes a nice hole for the stitching. The beauty of these chisels, you don't have to use an awl in this case, which is what I used when I was working in the saddlery business back in the 80s. All right, now, what have I got here? The next thing, This is a French skiving knife, and I'm going to take where I punched the holes. I'm going to angle the inside so that when the corners stand up together, there'll be sort of a 45-degree angle to make the corners look a bit more professional. Now you can see I'm actually starting this incorrectly. I'm coming from the outside rather than from the inside, and I should start from the inside. And the reason you'll see is because at the end of the run, when I push it up, I've got this little tail end there that I have to get off. Silly me. All right, now I came to the conclusion, oh yes, I need to do it the other way. So here we start from where the hole was punched, angling out 45 degrees, and I'm cleaning up that mess of the first one. So there we go. Now we'll go ahead and skive the next one. And that one there. And then that one there. And that one there. So I get all 2, 4, 6, 8, all 8 sides skived so the corners can stand up together. Now, the next project I'm going to do is, and again, I need to have a good outline of where I'm going to be using the gouge. The gouge is just sort of a V-shaped gouge that's going to gouge a channel in the leather where I'm going to bend the walls up of the napkin holder. Because if I didn't do this, they would be rounded, and you can do them rounded, just a personal preference of what you'd like to do. But you do have to have a good line to see where you're gouging. And you can use a straight edge to do it. I like to freehand it because for some reason my freehand works better than me using a straight edge. And I'm just getting it sort of deep enough so that it'll fold up. It'll be easier to fold up than without that gouge, or that channel we'd call it. So these napkin holders, we've got 3 napkin holders at home, and they're basically 7-inch called baskets. I could call this a leather basket. The definition of a basket, I don't know. Anyway, we've got 3 of them at home. One of them is a plastic basket with some bamboo involved. And then I'm saying the other 2. This one is going to be the second one of the other 2. I've got a leather one at home that I've initially made. And so this is the second one I made. And so it's just, I'm learning as I go of maybe what to do to improve my method. And there we have the channels all made. Now I'm going to cut out the front area using this jig that I cut down in the wood shop this morning actually. And I can trace out where I'm going to cut the front area out so that you can get napkins out more easily. There we go. Now get a knife, do some quick cutting, and then I believe after that I'm going to get the edger, and I will start edging both the bottom and the top sides of the leather. Okay, there we go. That one's done. All right. Now, here's the edger. Oh no, this is the crease. I'm creasing again. This way I'm creasing what I just cut out so that it will look semi-professional. Or look semi-like I know what I'm doing. Alright, now here's the edger. This is something you always want to keep your fingers behind it, because if it's not sharp, it'll jump off that leather and just stab your index finger brutally, which had happened to me again back when I was doing saddlery work. I was really bad about sharpening this tool and thought, well, I'll get by with it this time. But no, it would get off and bite me. So, here we go. But as I said, if it's sharp, it should do the job well, and you should be all right. So now that I've got all the edges taken care of, we'll take it, sweep off the table, just stand the walls up a little bit maybe. Oh, let's see. Oh no, we're going to stamp a loon on the front part. Well, actually, the loon twice. We're going to have them on either side. That stamp was made here at Maker's Mill. I used, I can't remember if it was Inkscape or Adobe Illustrator, and then I took the file to Glowforge and made it out of a 1/4-inch acrylic and used the clicker press to stamp it. So that's another great thing about being here at Maker's Mill. You have a variety of tools that you can use once you're qualified on them. And it's just, you can't ask for much more, I can tell you. So I've already stitched one corner, but I thought I'd go ahead and videotape me hand stitching this corner. I've got 2 needles. I go through and make a double stitch to start on the outside, and I'm doing what we could call a crossover saddle stitch, because I'm using 2 needles, no awl, and so I go through one way with one needle, one way with the other, and then after I snug it up, I'll cross them over, cross the needles right there, and lead through with my left hand, grab that needle, and then go through with the other needle, line up the cross, so it makes it look a little bit tidier, and snug it up, and we're at the end, and I'm stitching, get to the end, stitch back towards me with 2 stitches, and then I will cut them off and get started on the next one. And this, I have to use pliers because you can't use an awl to go through and make the hole bigger. And you don't really want to ever twist your needles, especially when the eye of the needle is in the leather, because you'll just break the eye right off. That I can tell you from experience. So this is finishing up this one, and there's pulling that needle out with the pliers. And the last one, snug it up, cut it off. There we go. And cut it off. And then we'll take this out and show you what it looks like. A cross stitch, saddle cross stitch. Okay, there's the inside. Now that where the channels are, I use Tokonol to darken them up a little bit, but they're not doing any harm. And this is for a napkin holder. There it is, in the loons, all finished up with the stitching. So, sitting on the bench, I brought some wood over to see if I can sort of just define the corners and the walls a bit better, just by pushing down and applying pressure. I don't spend a lot of time on finishing up things because I think the leather over time will just end up looking beautiful one way or the other with age. Here I am burning the ends of the thread off. Well, the thread I use is a tiger thread, and I really like the feel of it. It comes pre-waxed. All right, there we go. That's our napkin holder. And now I'm going to take some Tokonol, which is sort of a burnishing tool in a sense. It's a liquid that has most likely got some glue in it, and it helps burnishing the edges up. So I'm using a little sponge brush to apply the Tokonol to the edges and also down into the cracks. And then I take a paper towel and I use that to burnish the edges, applying a good bit of pressure on as I'm rubbing it back and forwards.